13.3, Graphing Proportional Relationships. Now remember, a few chapters back we were talking about proportional relationships. Proportional relationships describe how two different quantities are related. And remember, we can write that as an equation where y equals mx, where m this time is the constant of proportionality. Remember back we were talking about it being k. Well, now from this point on, we're going to talk about it as being m. Remember, m is also the slope of the line, which describes the steepness or the relationship between the x and y variable. Now remember, proportional relationships, when we graph it, it must be a straight line that passes through the origin. So here we have a proportional relationship problem where we have y is the cost for X ounces of frozen yogurt. And we can represent it by this equation here, y equals 0.5 times x. So we're going to graph and interpret the slope. The first way we can graph it, we know, is we can create a table. We can pick some x values and calculate our y, plot it on the coordinate plane, draw a line, and we can see what the slope is and how it relates to the cost and how many ounces of frozen yogurt. The other thing we can do is we can now just look directly at this equation, y equals 0.5x, and take the 0.5 as being the slope or the constant of proportionality. We can then say if we have 1 ounce of frozen yogurt, which would mean our x is 1, our cost is going to be 0.5. So 50 cents. 50 cents for 1 ounce. That's also the unit rate, isn't it? So here we have it. If we were to graph it, this is what it would look like. We could either graph it from this table or from looking directly at this equation. But again, 1 ounce means $0.5. So the unit rate is 50 cents per ounce. Okay, time for you to write in your notes. All you need to do is write the equation for a proportional relationship and tell us what m represents. Okay, so we can write and use an equation to help us predict. So here we have a situation where the weight y of an object on Titan, which is a moon of Saturn, is proportional to the weight of x of an object on Earth. So an object will weigh y on Titan and x on Earth. Okay, so for instance, we have an object that weighs 105 pounds on Earth, and they're telling us that that weighs 15 pounds on Titan. Okay, so remember, they just told us we want to write it in this form, y equals mx, because that's a proportional relationship, right? Well, y was the weight on Titan, which they told us was 15 pounds. We don't know what the slope is or the relationship, but we do know that the x is 105. Okay, so if we were to solve for m, we would find that m equals 15 over 105, which is the same as 1 over 7. So then our equation would then become, this is our m, y equals 1/7 x. Okay, so we can use this equation now to help us predict here. We have a 3.5 pound of ice on Titan. We want to know how much it's going to weigh on Earth. Remember, 3.5 Titan weight is our y, so 3.5 then has to equal a relationship to the Earth weight, right? So now we just need to solve for x, and that's going to be what? The weight of the object on Earth. So 3.5 equals 1/7 x multiply both sides by 7, and we get 24.5 equals x. So this 3.5 pound ice chunk on Titan will weigh 24.5 pounds on Earth. Okay, now it is time for you to do a 1 practice problem. Okay, here we have a practice problem where we have the distance y in meters that a 4-person ski lift travels in x seconds is represented by this equation. So for 4-person, y equals 2.5x. So the distance is 2.5 times the amount of seconds we go, x being seconds. Okay? Now we want to know, here's our 4-person one and here's our 2-person one. So this is the rate at which the 2-person lift can travel. And we want to know what the rate is that the 4-person lift can travel, and then compare those and see which one is faster. In order for us to do that, we want to know, for us to know which one's faster or steeper slope, that means our slope has to be big, right? The bigger the slope, that means the faster they're going to travel. So we want the biggest M. Okay, so we know right here for our 4-person one that the M value, the slope, is what? 2.5. We don't have to do any calculations. We just have to look because we know this is in the form of y equals mx. Okay, now on the 2-person one, we're going to have to actually calculate our slope. And do you remember how to calculate the slope? It's our change in y over change in x. Okay, so we take our second point, which is 612, and we're going to subtract our first point, which is 2 comma 4. Okay, so 12 minus 4 over 6 minus 2. That means that our slope m equals 8 over 4, which is the same as what? 2. So this one has then a steepness or a slope of 2. So which one travels faster? Okay, and that is it for 13.3.